Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. I apologize for all my swearing yesterday. I was just feeling emotional about what I had to say, but I try and keep the cursing down to a minimum, but I was just, I was fired up. What can I say? Thank you all, again, for all your discussion, and I appreciate the different takes. I do. And thank you for most of you for keeping it civil. 99.99% of the people that comment keep it very civil and very cool. So let's get into some climate change news. I'm going to start with some comments. This is a comment from Farmer Juan. Sometimes when you know you are going to fall, how you fall matters. To quote Chris Hedges and Sartre, I don't fight fascists because I think I will win. I fight fascists because they are fascists. As Derek Jensen has said, we need it all. We might not be able to drain the oil pans of Caterpillar equipment at construction sites, but you might be able to provide the tools, make MREs, help them hide out, know first aid, provide distractions, represent them in court, protest, disrupt, write, or broadcast. We need it all. If EVs or electric vehicles are dirty, that does not mean that diesels are clean. Exactly. Our entire transportation system needs to be transformed. Actually, I am of the opinion that in order to make a difference, our entire way of inhabiting this planet must be brought down. Not many talking about it being systemic. This construct we call civilization does not work. Live like the Amish, live like a hobbit. Rebuild the garden, create a shire. We cannot solve the problem and think that we can just repower the system that caused the problem to begin with. Spot on. Thank you, Farmer Juan. I totally agree. I think we should be living like the Amish, or very close to it. Technology and industrial civilization should be brought way, way down to manageable levels, as in, instead of electric vehicles or diesel-powered ones or propane-powered ones, why not just have one, why not have every community have one or two vehicles that people can just use whenever they want? Sharing economy. There's a truck down the street if you need to go get it and go pick something up. You don't need everybody on the block doesn't need to own a truck or 3 cars or whatever. Public transportation. People relying on public transportation 90% of the time, or more, etc. Bicycles, etc. Yes, I know you have to build bicycles, but the thing is how many bicycles are in the world already? How many bicycles are already made in the world already? We already have enough bicycles for the entire population of the planet. I'm pretty positive of that. That there are bicycles sitting there, garages filled with 4 bicycles that don't work. So, bring them out, fix them up, give them to your neighbors, lean them on. There are so many bicycles in America that are just leaned against buildings or just sitting out on streets that people are like, oh, nice bike, as I drive to work. If you've seen old pictures of China, just 30 years ago or 40 years ago, every single person in the country rode a bike to work. The streets were filled with bicycles, and it was a beautiful thing. And now the streets are filled with cars and way less bicycles. The bicycles were way less destructive. I'm going to move on to a comment from Imogen Nothing worthwhile ever gets achieved by worrying about whether you're going to be popular, people. That's exactly why politics fail. Totally, Kevin. If you are going to protest, protest, but without violence. If possible, perhaps that won't last. I don't know. Do you? Time doesn't stop. Global warming isn't stopping, or nor should we. This is now as much about justice as it is about mitigation. It is a no-brainer. If you have given up trying to support the need to take action, no matter the outcome, then I'm not sure saying that relentlessly on YouTube is worth anything. We all get it that we are facing the biggest thing the human species have ever faced before, and in all likelihood it will end in extinction, but that doesn't mean we should give up. You are already not authentically living if that is the case. There are still species trying to survive in unforgiving ruins that are man-made. We have a responsibility, no less, to do what we can now to reduce suffering and further global warming and environmental societal collapse already baked into the system, taken as a given. You are not awake or part of anything true or real if you do not feel it is absolutely necessary to take action. None can tell you what that action should be, but apathy is the foolish man's decision, non-decision. At least if non-action is your decision, spend the time living, not undermining thoughtful energy towards right action. I have done my fair share of doom speak. It's hard not to when everything tells us that we are screwed, and maybe that is part of the process. But if possible, that phase needs to perhaps only personally end, and more immediate action taken, trying to do what we can, and revealing fully the lie and deception being sold to us by the people with the power is completely worth it. Power to the people. Thank you, Imogen and Farmer Juan. And in the face of yesterday's video, I'm going to link the Greta Thunberg speech to the UK Parliament. She's saying real things, and even even if they're like, yeah. Anyways, what time is lunch? She's saying real things. She's telling the truth. The things she is saying, the things she is saying are real. They're consequential, whether people want to hear it or not, and most people don't want to hear it. Bully on the Parliament for having Greta Thunberg come speak. This is from San Francisco. 2 more whales found dead in San Francisco Bay Area. This is from April 18th, 2019. Authorities say 2 dead whales have washed ashore in San Francisco Bay, making 5 whales that have been found dead in the area in a month. KPIX-TV reports that a whale about 35 feet long was spotted at Manor Beach in Pacifica Tuesday afternoon, while another washed up along the shoreline near Richmond along Brooks Island Regional Preserve. There's no word on what killed the mammals. However, scientists say a young female gray whale found dead in the Bay Area in March died of severe malnutrition. Gray whales are making their annual northward migration from Mexico to Alaska. Malnutrition. Again, not a good sign. Dead whales washing up on beaches almost all over the planet. So this is another obvious news. Scientists say to UN, to stop climate change, modern capitalism needs to die. And this is from August 29th, 2018, so from a little bit ago, but this is from bigthink.com. The era of cheap energy is coming to an end, and societies will need to reshape energy consumption and infrastructure or face consequences, warns a new scientific background paper issued to the United Nations. The paper was written by biophysicists with the BIOS Research Unit in Finland, who were asked by the UN to contribute research for the UN Global Sustainable Development Report, which will be released in 2019. It contains some sobering predictions. The team argues that today's dominant economic theories and conceptions of modern capitalism are inadequate because they falsely assume societies will have continued access to cheap energy like fossil fuels. Also, these theories generally don't factor in sink costs, meaning costs that can't be recovered, like climate change. and they fail to account for the potential socio-political consequences that could result from continued unchecked consumption and growth. Because economies are for the first time in human history shifting to energy sources that are less energy efficient, production of usable energy, exergy, will require more, not less, effort on the part of societies to power both basic and non-basic human activities, the scientists wrote. The team called for societies to start thinking about new models of governance and economics. It can be safely said that with no widely applicable economic models have widely applicable economic models have been developed specifically for the upcoming era, they wrote. When's that about to start, the upcoming era? Or has it already started? Our focus is on the transition period, the next few decades. What needs to be done? The scientists highlighted a few key issues. Use less energy and transform energy infrastructure. Less energy. Renewables might help alleviate the effects of climate change, but they currently have a low energy return on investment, meaning it costs more to implement renewables than it does to use fossil fuels. The team predicted it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to meet current or growing levels of energy need in the next few decades with renewables or other low-carbon solutions. Because of this stark reality, there is considerable pressure to lower total energy use. Travel less and more efficiently. Walking, biking, and electrified public transport should all be emphasized in the world's cities, the scientists wrote. This will require changes in city planning and in vehicle production, in transport infrastructure such as railways, roads, and charging stations, and in energy production and storage, in addition to reductions in international freight transport and aviation. As weird as it sounds to say, all of these things should be nationalized and run by the government, not for profit, but just for the people to use. Take the profit motive out of it. And then you won't get, things can be regulated properly. Society should produce more of their own food. Both affluent and developing countries should become more self-sufficient in food production because it will be too risky to rely on the functioning of only a few main food production areas in the future. The team wrote, also suggesting that dairy and meat should make way for largely plant-based diets. Build long-lasting wood houses. The construction industry is currently dominated by concrete and steel, whose manufacturing and other life cycle processes are very energy intensive and cause significant climate emissions and other types of waste, the team wrote. In contrast, long-lasting wood buildings can provide better carbon storage. Whoops, I almost lost my desk there. Excuse me. Achieving these changes will require unprecedented action. The scientists said market-based action will not suffice. Even with a high carbon price, there must be a comprehensive vision and closely coordinated plans. Otherwise, a rapid system-level transformation toward global sustainability goals is inconceivable. The team wrote that each society would have to develop its own solution for navigating the transition into a sustainable economy. However, those changes will probably require government intervention in every case. Not probably will, if we want to do this. Governments just need to nationalize all production, give people what they need. Here's, for right now, for the moment, the time being, here's a house, here's a little bit of land, you go for it. Garden, we'll provide you with food. We'll make sure everybody has food until they get their gardens growing. Etc. Figure out how to let people, figure out how to get people to live sustainably from the earth, so that people don't have to do the jobs, drive to the job, go to the job, make the things, do the things. People will have plenty to do when they're growing their own food. If you're growing your own food, then you're eating your own food, right? That's how you stay alive. You have a house, you have some food. Everything else is inconsequential at this point. In the modern global economy states, Where was I? The most likely option for initiating transitions to sustainability would be for a group of progressive states to take the lead. This would require economic thinking that enables large public investment programs on the one hand and strong regulation and environmental caps on the other. In the modern global economy, states are the only actors that have the legitimacy and capacity to fund and organize large-scale transitions. The Finland team's paper comes less than a year after some 15,000 scientists with the Alliance of World Scientists published a warning to humanity that described various ways in which human activities and eroding, or I was about to say ending, the biosphere. The scientists offered five broad solutions at the time. 1, we must bring environmentally damaging activities under control to restore and protect the integrity of Earth systems we depend on. We must, for example, move away from fossil fuels to more benign, inexhaustible energy sources to cut greenhouse gas emissions and the pollution of our air and water. Priority must be given to the development of energy sources matched to third world needs, small scale and relatively easy to implement. We must halt deforestation, injury to, and loss of agricultural land and the loss of terrestrial and marine plant and animal species. Areas off limits to humans, anybody. 2, we must manage resources crucial to human welfare more effectively, and that is the same thing. We must give high priority to efficient use of energy, water, and other materials, including expansion of conservation and recycling. 3, we must stabilize population. This will be possible only if all nations recognize that it requires improved social and economic conditions and the adoption of effective voluntary family planning. And we have to describe what that means, improved social and economic conditions. The thing is that, I think everybody should have a safety net, the safety net of food and housing and clothing. Raising economic conditions means what? It means, industrial civilization. It means, everybody has all the things. No. Actually, we need to take away the things from the people that have them, already. We're going to have to pry all that stuff, and the mansions and the boats and the cars and the jets from the rich's hands. So sorry, Charlie. 3, we must stabilize, I already read that. 4, we must reduce and eventually eliminate poverty. We should also figure out what poverty is. I believe we absolutely should have bold goals for our country, said the director of the Earth Institute, Jeffrey Sachs. By 2030, let's cut the poverty at least by half. We must ensure, I say let's, by current world standards, we need to increase poverty among the people that have too much stuff. And then we need to give the people that are, starving to death, the opportunity to have food, grow food, etc. But, the whole idea about poverty, I've talked about it before, but I think we really, really need to have a discussion about what that means, what poverty means, and everybody should have an education. I think that everybody should have access to information, education, communication. Should everybody have all the things? No. If you have a house to live in, food to eat, you're not poor. If you have clothes on your back, you're not poor. 5, we must ensure sexual equality and guarantee women control over their own reproduction decisions. As women and girls get better educated, they have fewer kids, and the kids do have more resources, so they are better taken care of and they are more successful. True, says Bill Nye. So what we want to do in my world over here in science education is get women and girls around the world as educated as best as we can, as fast as we can, so that there will be more resources per person in the coming years. True story, but that's not going to happen. We still need a cap on population. Because there are plenty of educated, well-to-do women right here in this country who love the idea of having a whole bunch of babies. I want to have 8 babies. No, you don't. I'm glad that you think that you can, but you're not going to do that. That should be there should be something in place. Like, education and wealth does not necessarily mean you're going to make the right choices. So somebody's going to have to make that decision for you, because we can't just have that. In a, you know, in the future utopian world in which we control ourselves, whatever, or we just educate people enough on the idea that, you know, having 8 babies is not good for the planet. You know, in the best possible scenario, people are educated enough to understand that having 8 babies is not good for the planet, or having 3 babies is not good for the planet, or having 5 babies is not good for the planet. So they'll just not do that. That's the desired end goal. But I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to do something pretty quickly. So, you know, maybe there should be some kind of UN mandate, like 2 baby maximum or whatever. Guys, we really need to do something about this global warming or this climate change or this environmental destruction thing. So we really need to work very hard on reducing childbirth rates. But I don't know. That's a debate. That's a debate that's still going on. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time.